How's it going, guys? This is me, myself, Gnome here, and I am playing / reading / experiencing Depression Quest. It's a free programmed experience because it's not a game about, well, depression. If you haven't watched the other video I've done on depression, it was called The Static Speaks My Name. Just know that having a lot of experience with depression, I'm probably not going to take this very serious game seriously, and I'm going to make fun of things that should not be made fun of in this game, even though they give a disclaimer here on the screen, which I'm gonna read. Even though I do that, just remember it's all jokes. I made fun of serious topics in that game too, and I'm not gonna like seek out them in this one, but just know that it will happen. So if you get offended easily, tough shit. Depression Quest, an interactive non-fiction about living with depression by Quinn, Patrick, Lindsey, and Isaac Schankler, right there on the side. Alright, its emotional character is probably mostly indescribable, except as a sort of double bind in which all of the alternatives we associate with human agency, sitting or standing, doing or resting, speaking or keeping silent, living or dying, are not just unpleasant, but literally horrible. Depression Quest is a game that deals with living with depression in a very literal way. This game is not meant to be fun or lighthearted experience. Fuck you, I do what I want. If you are currently suffering from illness or easily triggered, please be aware this game uses stark depictions. If you're suicidal, don't play this game, pretty much. The goal of this game is twofold. Firstly, we want to illustrate as clearly as possible what depression is like, so that it may be better understood by people without depression. Hopefully this can be something to spread awareness and fight against the social stigma and misunderstandings that depression sufferers face. Secondly, our hope is that in presenting as real a simulation of depression as possible, other sufferers will come to know that they aren't alone, and hopefully derive some measure of comfort from that. It goes without saying that because of the very nature of depression, it is experienced differently by every person who suffers from it. We aren't trying to say that this is the best or most accurate representation, merely that this is an amalgamation, great word, of the experiences of the developers and several people close to them. Many of the following encounters deal with issues such as therapy, medication, handling of love life, and reaching out to support networks. In reality, less than half of depression sufferers actually seek treatment for reasons such as lack of money, perceived personal failing, or public stigma. These things were included in the order to touch upon as broad a range as possible, since all these elements can be very important to sufferers of depression, though they will likely not be the experience for most. It's important to recognize that not everyone with depression is so lucky. Many people with the illness don't have a lot of the luxuries that we have in this game. We've written it this way so that we can focus specifically on the illness, which becomes more and more difficult to deal with as the person who has it is less and less well off. Game uses audio, blah blah blah, thank you for playing. View controls, alright. It is early on a Monday morning. You are a mid-20s human being. Am I now? You have a significant other named Alex, you are rather fond of, that you've been seeing exclusively for the past few months. I don't think exclusively was really needed in that sentence there, but alright. The rest of your social circle consists of a variety of friends and acquaintances. I don't know why some of the things are... Okay, apparently those are things I can click on to learn more about. This might be long, alright. The rest of your social circle consists of a variety of friends and acquaintances, some of whom you met at your day job, which is a little boring, but pays the rent. You like to be doing more with your life, as would your parents, but you're still in the process of figuring out what that means and how to go about it. You are also dealing with motivation issues that sometimes make dealing with these things difficult. You feel like this is probably your fault, and on bad days you can feel inwardly angry and down on yourself for being lazy, but you're not quite sure how you can break out of it, or how other people deal with these feelings and seem so very functional. Spend a lot of nights fixating on thinking about this, but never seem to do anything about it other than lose sleep. Alright. You met Alex through a mutual friend a few months back. The two of you hit it off pretty well at first night. After a series of initially awkward dates, you finally became a couple, much to your surprise and excitement. Alex is 3 months younger than you are. He's currently a student with a part-time job and a broad social circle. She's got a wide variety of interests, and oftentimes you worry that you might be too boring for her, but she has been good at trying to reassure you that she's happy with you. Your relationship consists of a lot of nights in watching Netflix when you've both got time off work and she doesn't have classes, with the occasional social outing that she tends to have to talk you into attending. She tries to be understanding when you are in one of your moods, as she puts it. You're starting to feel like she doesn't understand what it's like for you, and this is a sort of tension in your relationship. Coupled with your reluctance to want to go to college parties, this feeds your worry of not being exciting enough for them. Your social circle is made up of a few close friends, some of which you've known from high school, and some of the jobs you've worked. You've also made various acquaintances through reluctantly going to social events with Alex, and you keep in touch with a few friend of friends that you occasionally run into. You also have several online friends that you talk to regularly that you feel less guarded with, possibly due to communicating from the safety of being behind the keyboard. Goddamn keyboard warriors. You enjoy the low commitment of the friendships, since they don't expect very much of you other than to listen and share personal thoughts and experiences. Despite the low commitment, you feel fairly connected with these people and tend to be more honest with them than the people you interact in real life on a daily basis. You feel incredibly nervous trying to make new friends on your own, and are very good at talking yourself out of going to unfamiliar places or large social engagements, regardless of how much you may actually want to attend. Meeting new people stresses you out to a high degree, and this is something you wish you could work past. You admit that you have a bad habit of flaking on social engagements, even with longtime friends, and are puzzled as to why some days you just can't force yourself to go see these people that you really do care about. Those that have stuck around long enough to be close with you understand that this is a thing you do sometimes, and seem to have more or less accepted, even though they chide you for it on occasion. However, you've had friends in the past give up trying to maintain a friendship with you because of this trait, taking your social anxieties as a personal slight, or eventually getting tired of trying to track you down all the time. You feel incredibly guilty about this, but you're not quite sure how to change it. Alright, my day job. I have a day job which you feel is nothing special. I started out receiving minimum wage, but you have stayed around long enough to be making enough to support yourself. The work is dull and unrewarding. Most days you feel like just about anyone can do it. You have a hard time relating to most of your coworkers, so you mostly keep to yourself and get the work done while you're there. There are one or two people you chat with, though you wouldn't consider yourself close with them. A lot of days lately, you have a really hard time getting out of bed and forcing yourself to go in. You're starting to wonder how long you can keep this up. I was going to make a joke there, but then I remembered that I said I wasn't going to force it. If it comes up, I'll make a joke about it, possibly, but I'm not going to force it, so I'll just keep that joke to myself. You really like to find another job in your field of interest, but feel like you are underqualified every time you look at online job postings. Sometimes you think about going back to school, and you would be unsure how you would be able to support yourself and wonder if the degree would really help anyways. My parents. One of the few people you know of whose parents never got divorced, but you do wonder if they still love each other sometimes. You have an older brother named Malcolm who has moved across the country with his wife to work at a high-paying job. Every major holiday that you see him at, you feel a bit jealous and like the lesser kid, despite being genuinely happy to see him. Genuinely. You feel very ashamed of these feelings. Your parents I keep saying generally instead of genuinely care about you. This often involves inviting you back to your childhood home for dinner, although your mother thinks you never visit quite enough, but you get the impression that they don't fully understand you. God, Mom, it's not just a phase. They want to see you succeed and don't know why you haven't gotten farther in your life yet, because you're so smart and talented, as every parent would tell their child. Anytime you've tried to talk to them about your motivation issues, they tell you that the solution is simply to work harder or to want it more. Your father is generally more forgiving of your lack of career path while your mother seems to think that you're too smart to be in the position you're in. You know they love you and that they're not bad people, but you really feel like a big disappointment sometimes. I was like, what the hell is that? Oh, that's just like a low hum for the music. I thought it was something outside my door, or like, oh my god. It's unseasonably warm Wednesday evening. You've spent the past several hours at work. The past week or so you found your job motivation flagging more so than usual. You've been in a fog practically all day today, simply going through the motions without realizing even what you've been doing half of the time, and yet time seems to be moving at half speed. You're so checked out that when your boss approaches you to tell you that it's dead and you can go home early, it barely registers. As you walk home, the streets hiss from the recent rainfall. You know that your significant other will be in classes until late, another couple hours at least. You briefly consider using the serendipitous solitude to catch up on that project, wink wink, of yours that you've been working on haphazardly for the past few months. As soon as you think about the work that awaits you at home, you can feel the panic creeping in from the back of your brain, unbidden. All you can think of is how incredibly far behind you are, and the amount of work seems nothing less than insurmountable. By the time you arrive home and change out of your uncomfortable work clothes, the stress is weighing down on you like a heavy, wet wool blanket. Your computer seems to be staring you down from your desk. You want to sit down and work, but the mere thought of trying to work sends your stress levels high. Stress levels high / flying. More than anything, you feel suddenly and absolutely exhausted and feel a strong desire to simply hide in bed. Do you order some food, grab a drink, and hunker down for a night of work? Which I cannot do. Alright, so I'm going to read the ones at the bottom yet. I am depressed. Interaction is exhausting, and you are becoming more and more withdrawn. You're not currently seeing a therapist, and I am not currently taking medication for my depression. Do I reluctantly sit down at my desk and try to make myself do something, or just stare at the screen for an hour? Turn the TV on, telling yourself you need a quick half an hour to unwind. Sure, that age-old excuse. Crawl into bed, you're so stressed and overwhelmed you couldn't possibly accomplish anything anyways. Well, I sit down at my desk and tell myself I need a quick hour and a half to unwind from work. So let's go with that one. Shit. Let me look at the project. A while back, you and some of your older friends were at a bar catching up. After liquefying considerably more of your paycheck than was perhaps responsible, and ending up thoroughly in your cups, you open up. That's an antiquated saying. Deep in your cups? Ugh. You open up to the only people you really consider yourself close to, and end up launching into a drunken tirade about the meaninglessness of your utterly menial job, and ultimately my own existence. Having never really seen you in such a state before, your friends were briefly taken aback by your sudden uncharacteristic outburst. One of your friends suggests that you get involved with your hobby on a more regular, long-term basis, suggesting that spending your energy on something that you actually care about might help you better cope with the shittiness of your 9 to 5. Even though most jobs start at 8, I don't know why it's called 9 to 5. Although you were embarrassed that you let your guard down and felt self-conscious at seeming to have single-handedly brought the mood down at the table, you convinced yourself on the cab ride home that maybe it would be worth trying out. You began your project some months ago and have miraculously managed to keep at it, though your level of motivation and subsequent effort rises and falls considerably. Period. While you were surprised when you started at how good it felt to actually work on something you were passionate about, you've found it harder to muster the energy to really care about this. Alright, I'm gonna sit at my desk and pretend to do something. Just a half an hour of TV, you tell yourself, absently grasping for the remote. You don't so much sit down on the couch as you sink into it. You turn the TV on and start going through your usual channel routine. After a few cycles of this, you realize that you're really not doing much more than thumb calisthenics and absently killing time. You check the clock and see that over 20 minutes has already passed since you sat down. As your self-imposed time limit creeps ever nearer, you become more and more anxious. You stand up and and walk to the fridge, telling yourself, I'll just make a quick sandwich and get to work after that.